about the Academy, first of all, Dr. Stone?
Well, I just want to welcome you to the botany department and apologize for the rather inadequate seating conditions. We hadn't anticipated this kind of need, and this room was never designed for the kind of thing that we're going to do here today, but I hope it'll function. I went with Paul and the group to Zurich and have examined the botanical materials, and we hope eventually to adequately document the voucher specimens. These are not materials from the shroud, but from the plants, which are meant to validate the identifications of the pollen that has been recovered. So at the moment we are simply providing the space in hopes that the material will be of interest.
As you've all gathered by now, the ASSIST organization has purchased the entire Max Frei collection of shroud research materials. It is contained here in 2 footlockers, and of course the most important, the core of the collection is in the briefcase over there in the corner, which we will shortly open. But we really deeply appreciate Dr. Stone for making these facilities available to us for the examination of the sticky tapes. Our goal, our singular goal today, is to examine each one of these 28 sticky tapes and to answer a single question. Did this material come from the Shroud of Turin? Now I want to hasten to add, we have no reason to believe that it did not. We don't think that Mrs. Frei is involved in any kind of scam, and we wouldn't want that conclusion drawn here today. We simply are a group of scientists interested in doing this from scratch the right way. So verification is the order of the day today. Now there are going to be some side spin-offs. This is going to turn into a real brainstorming session because of the people we have here who are up on a lot of very exotic things such as FTIR, and those of you who may not know, that is Fourier Transform Infrared, and you may not know any more now than you did before. But throughout the day we're going to be discussing these things with the experts. Our 2 principal investigators is alphabetically Dr. Alan Adler of Western Connecticut State University. Al, I am grateful to you that you've come today. Thank you. And Dr. Walter C. McCrone of McCrone Research Institute, Chicago and London. And I'm tickled to death to have you here today, Walter. So both of these gentlemen are going to be the stars of the show. They're going to be looking at these exams. Both men are experienced in looking at material from the Shroud because of the STIRP sticky tapes that were taken in 1978. So if they look at this stuff and they say this is from the Shroud, I'm going to believe it. If they say it isn't, or they can't prove it today in the 15-minute slot that we give them, we'll set those aside and leave them for later on for verification at another date. Okay, now I have some handouts here. Handout number 1. ASSIST was loaned 5 sticky tapes in January of 1986. So I'm going to pass these around. This is a report. Each of you may take a copy. Well, maybe this is a little heavy. I wonder if you would kindly just walk around and here. Okay, that's number 1. That will give you the basics of the 5 sticky tapes that we had on loan. Then last year, now that was produced at the end of 1986. This was produced in this year. This is a much shorter report. This is the work we did on a photo inventory of the pollen grains that were found on one single piece of sticky tape. So if each of you would like to take a copy of this, that will give you that kind of data. Now, for today's session, we have a third item. We'd like to pass out this. It will just give you a list of the sticky tapes allegedly in the collection, and it will tell you something about Dr. Frei's method compared with the methods that STIRP used and Dr. Giovanni Rigi, who used the vacuum method. So these things be passed around. Of the tapes being sealed in Gawil, Switzerland. We are now in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Academy of Natural Science, and we are about to break the seal on the sticky tapes. Let's get a video of this. Let me turn this around so that the labels are visible.
There's another one of those possible columns.
I think I'll pass.
Okay. No question about this guy. If the others were, it is.
Okay, so that was 2AA. Dr. McCrone believes that this fits into the pattern. It comes from the shroud. Oh boy, here's one that gets back loose. 12BD. 12BD. I'm handing it to Dr. Ranger for photography.
Let's see, what should we do about this on the back?
Yeah, see, it's loose. I'm going to have to, well, just put it into under the microscope. It's got to be pressed down, see, but I think that's stuck against itself.
Yeah.
See, so see this whole length.
Yes.
No magnification.
Slide at 12BD. The tape has been folded back under and has been stuck to itself.
If the tape was on there, there'll be a clean spot.
Well, that one doesn't have a label.
Wouldn't have been that.
I mean, it has a label. Yes. I am now handing Dr. McCrone 12BD.
I'm gonna cheat and look at the bottom. Actually, I haven't looked at any bottoms, and I suspect there's as much there as there is on the tops. Yeah.
This is 12BD. Now, our record for this is not photographic, except for Barry Schwartz's photograph of the magnetic markers that were laid down on the shroud. And there is a magnetic marker lying here. You can see where I have it. It's right at the lower end of the calf of the leg. This might possibly be an image area.
Red silk and lots of cotton so far. Others, and it could be an image area. Let's see. Look a little higher.
What power are you at now?
200 right now.
200.
I lost the fiber that I thought might be covered with particles, but if it is, we should find some more.
We're now doing macro photography on slide label 4BD.
I don't know whether they're being good. I mean, Alan's taking a good one over there.
Okay.
Behind your back again.
He's taking everything over there.
Okay, Dr. McCrone now has sticky tape 4BD, the last of the labeled tapes in the collection. There is one tape left to go. That's an unlabeled tape. And we'll shortly be at that one. Now, while we're examining this one, I want to show you a photo mosaic. Executed.
Image area.
I'm executed.
Image area tape, Paul.
Pardon?
Image area.
Yes, this is definitely an image area tape. Very definitely. I didn't think so at first,
Beautiful.
because when we
Yeah,
came
very
across
nice.
this tape, I thought, by looking at Barry Schwartz's photographs, that he had taken it alongside in the off image area. When I got to looking at these, I said, that's not possible, because we were seeing things that didn't stack up. What in fact, Frei did. He went right across the arm. Now there's a flow that in the photograph will look like a blood flow right down the arm from the wound in the wrist. He went right smack across that, and for 2 centimeters of space in the center of that tape, he has pulled up material that comes from that flow on the arm. So what I did, I put together, this project has only begun. Honey, would you come up here?
This is good. This is all iron oxide.
Okay. So what I did is I went to one end. I started here in the center of the tape. And you see the yellow and the white. The white represents clear linen. Now these are photographs. These do not represent the fibers themselves. They represent a photograph of those fibers. Somewhat clear kinds of linen fibers. The yellow ones imply to me that they are either a thicker fiber or a yellower fiber. You come up to this point, and then you start to find fibers that have this coating. And you find splotches of the same kind of stuff all over in this area. So from here, all the way over to here, you find this, it's just loaded with this material, like you're seeing right there on the screen. This, to me, was one of the most spectacular tapes I came across. Now the stuff ends right here. You still find fibers. You see all these fibers out in here, linen fibers, some cotton, and other kinds. But right in here, these linen fibers are concentrated with these particles adhering to the fibers themselves. It's a wonderful concentration. Now, what we're attempting to do is to create a photo inventory of each and every one of these fibers. The photo inventory now, to this point in time, contains at least 46 fibers with some of this coated material adhering to them. We know that before we're finished, it's going to be many, many times more than just 46 coated fibers.
A lot of it is not on the fibers, but was stripped off by the...
That's right, exactly. And you find that some blobs in here are actually many times larger than a single fiber itself.
It's all iron oxide.
So now the botanicals also are like, this is botanical material. Here. There's some red silk up in here somewhere that you'll find. Of course, this is all black and white. But now, my other reason for showing this, and it's a pity that Al has had to go, but Al and I talked on the phone about archiving. what we want to do is archive every single one of these tapes. If we create a photo mosaic, say, now this was done with a 10-power objective, but Walter, maybe you can tell me what happens when you take a 10-power objective and blow it up with a photograph like this, put it together as a photo mosaic. What power are we looking at? How many times?
The photo microscope photo?
Yeah, the photo, we just took we took that, I created it on that using the camera. And used the 10-power objective, and just snapped it and overlapped it a little bit, took another snap, and snapped each time.
We've got about 1000x.
1000x. So we've blown up this sticky tape 1,000 times. Now this is the kind of thing we'd like to do with every single sticky tape. Eventually, we would have these as large files, so that if we send a sticky tape out, we would have grid lines on here. I've tried to create some type of grid down here. It's not superimposed, but a scientist theoretically would go to this and he'd say, well, I'd like to take sample from grid number 50.5, A.5. And we would go to our files here and look at that reference, and we'd talk about it, we'd discuss it, we'd say, yes, I think that's feasible. We will require that he photograph it to make a record of the kind of thing he wants to take, a proposal of the kind of work he wants to do, and then we would have a record of the history of these sticky tapes. And since there are 28 of them, we would have 28 of these 1,000-power type photo mosaic grids to keep accurate record of the scientific work that was done on each of the tapes. So that tape there is a very valuable, very valuable tape.
I'd give you $1,000 spot cash for what you see in that picture.
You'll give me a $1,000 spot cash for it.
Just that little bit.
All right.
Let me tell you what it is. This is a strip of an organic material stripped off the fiber, and these are the little particles that are taken in there. You can probably see that they're yellow and orange and red. That's the color of the image, and it is here.
You see, and you can see how this is stuck together with this translucent material. And of course, so you have the mixture of the translucent material with the opaque, reddish opaque material adhering into that translucent material.
I do think that FTIR, the microscope attachment, would be able to tell what that is.
Okay, that ends the core of the collection. Of course, now we have many mounts and controls that Dr. Frei developed, but we're not interested in looking at those today. That's a matter for scientific analysis by the specialists in those fields, such as palynologists. Okay, may I ask, Walter, if you'll do me a favor, write me a letter stating your individual detailed notes and your general opinion about the collection.
You have to.
And include your request about the one on 4BD.
Right.
And include the $1,000 price.
Let's hang on that $1 million they offered.
Yeah, oh, right. You mentioned
I wanted to get down to something that somebody really might take me up on. I thought 1,000 you might be willing to bet that amount.
Well, we just might do that. Well, I think now I want to emphasize that no public announcement is going to emanate from this meeting here today. Obviously, somewhere down the future, maybe a month from now, there will be an announcement that ASSIST has the sticky tapes. But our basic purpose here was, first of all, to verify that these did in fact come from the crowd. And so far, we could tell that everything but this one indicates, I mean, the fiber and particle spectrum seems to indicate, in the view of both Walter and Al, it did come from the shroud. So I think we can feel happy about the transaction we made. Okay, listen, I want to thank you so much, Walter, for your participation. I'm just tickled to death you came down.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we all did too. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your role in putting this thing together. The first for Ben for making this room available, the facilities here at the Academy, and for your presence with us on the trip in verifying the botanicals. So now the collection, the botanical collection, is probably going to come to rest here at the Academy. There's a lot of work to do in that one, and so I'll probably be coming down on spare Saturdays I can to learn how to mount those things and see if I can help identify them. I want to get involved in that. We have an awful lot of manuscript material that we've got to go through in Dr. Frei's collection. We've made an inventory, but it's a very rudimentary inventory that stretches on for, what, 13 pages, was it? No, it's 21 pages of inventory. Correspondence and just type scripts and so forth. And of course his basic manuscript. We hope to publish that, but we've got some new documentation now we want to add to it before we publish it. And I want to thank all the rest of you. Jim,
Appreciate your getting us all together and having this opportunity to look at it.
thank you. We appreciate that. You know, it's just been a wonderful occasion. I'm just enthused about what has proceeded here today.
Yeah.
This examination will be to show some direct examinations of photographs of the Shroud of Turin by varying video techniques in order to demonstrate and enhance some of the details that have been seen. The photographs we used are second generation NRA photographs from the 1931 series. We'll be using basically a Magnavox Super VHS CCD camera for the original registration. This camera has approximately 400 lines of resolution. The image, however, will be processed through these devices here. Notice that the image will be run through the first box, which is basically a image producer. The next device, and of more importance, is the detail enhancer here, and then there's a processing amplifier here, which modifies the chroma and the image in some additional ways. This is a recording using the Magnavox camcorder to look at some of the images. This is by ambient fluorescent light. I'm going to be focusing in on the chrysanthemum flower. It's being noted that this photograph has a right to left reversal to it. Zooming in. There is enhancement here. There is the area of the chrysanthemum in the center of the field. I'm going to first turn off the edge enhancement. Next I'll turn off the chroma enhancement and the fact that the light level is diminished here considerably. I'll turn the light back up. See, it's more difficult to see the image rather than when the intensity is turned down, when the contrast actually increases or can be perceived better when it's like this. Other flower structures can be seen in the area here, such as the rounded structures here. Now we'll back out from this, and I will focus in on the area of the crown of thorns, which again is over the right anatomic shoulder. I'll focus in on the first of the area of the thorn that was originally identified here. Notice that the irregular surfaces here are in the center of the thorn, and here we see the leaves radiating out here. We'll increase the contrast by decreasing the gain at this point. Actually, we see the lower the light intensity, the more clearly the leaf and fainter structures can be seen. Now we will follow the area up. We can here see the lower Gandelia thorn. See it moving up to a second area here, which we feel is another thorn. The thick stalk can be seen here going up to the next area. As this is a thorn, we feel it has a caparis flower on it. As you can see, we feel the outline of another one of the heavy stalks coming down here, and some is extending one side. Covering the larger area, we will decrease the gain again so that the structures can be seen. The original one, extension up here, extension here, a stalk extending down here, details lost in the burn here. We can see that there's an object here, again with a stalk coming down into here. There's some structure right here which can be better seen in other photographs. At this point you can see again indications of probably another one of the Gandelia thorns. We are now using a larger and a different photograph, again to look at the flower structure, especially in this case the chrysanthemum-like flower. Again, it's been noticed that this photograph also has a right to left reversal. We will zoom in now on the area of the chrysanthemum-like flower. It's in the center of the field at this point. We will now vary the gain here. When it's brighter, the pattern is more difficult to see. As we decrease the gain, and we notice that the flower can be more readily outlined, as we see here. Moving into the place where the flower fills much of the field. As we look close by, we can see other structures which we feel that we have identified as other different types of flower structures. And now zoom back out. Further to help reorient. We are now using another photograph for observation here. This one has the correct orientation, and we are looking first at the area the side of the head here, which we feel has stalks of a hyoscyamus plant here. These are arranged vertically. The darker areas are somewhat bell-shaped flowers here, although they are wilted and the margins are somewhat hard to see. We are now down in the area of the crown of thorns. This is the Candelia thorn at this point, as we can see the central portion of the thorn there, and can see the leaves extending out here. We will vary the gain on that, seeing when the gain is decreased, more of these structures can be discerned. Now turn off the detail enhancement. The detail is on now, is off at this point. I'll turn off the chroma enhancement now to normal light illumination. Turn that back on, and turn the edge enhancement back on at this point also. As we will zoom in more closely on this, showing the central part of the thorn there, and with the leaves extending out here. We will now drop down just below the crown of thorns. As you can see, leaf down here in this splotchy area in the center. We feel is the images of the plant hyoscyamus reticularis. As we will zoom in more closely on this, and the peculiar reticular or net-like pattern can be seen here. Is that there are several of the flowers here. The two of the pistils of the flowers can be seen. One is right there, and another one is extending down there. Overlays using the polarized image overlay technique show these exact replications of the pistils of the reticularis flowers. Going to decrease the gain progressively at this point. Give an idea